What's up, mother? No, I'm just playing. Brooke is gonna kill me. Just kidding. We professional. Welcome everyone to a Maroon Arts and Culture's Educators of Color Happy Hour. I am LJ. I'm the founder of Maroon Arts and Culture, and I'm joined here with my best friend and my director of education, Celia Carey. And this is the part of the week where we come together and we have us a cocktail, you know what I'm saying? Have us a little drink. And we just discuss what it's like to be people who identify as educators in a world where A, don't nobody appreciate educators, B, don't nobody pay educators, and C, now we got a whole virtual learning situation on our hands. It's wild out here, folks. So before we hit the go button on the stream, Celia and I were like, I don't even know why I do this. Don't nobody even really be watching these.
honestly.
I mean, listen, we keep it real. We don't listen. We're not pretentious. It is what it is. This is going to be so hilarious. One day we're going to have a whole talk show, and then they'll be like, "Remember when you was doing it to the ether and when nobody watching this shit?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Like it was yesterday. But part of the reason when we do this, honestly, is like Celia was saying, because we are living in a moment of unprecedented history. And as educators, we do think it's important to kind of document what this journey is. What were you just saying, Celia, about how people don't realize they're in history?
Well, I was saying, hey y'all, it's Celia. I was saying that
Your hair's so cute tonight too. Give
Oh,
it up.
girl, this was like a, I'm trying to protective style it. I'm trying to be protective. But thank you. I often wondered if our I almost said forefathers, but our ancestors or our folks that were living through the civil rights movements and the various movements and even Maroon communities when they were staging their uprisings and doing those things, if they knew, like, did they know they were in a moment of history, like something that could end up in the textbooks that our kids learned, or something that should have ended up in the textbooks that our kids learned from. And I feel it. I feel that we're living in times that will be in textbooks, that will have all these headlines and all these things. This pandemic, this presidency, just a lot. The division, the racial uprising, just all of that. And so, in my little bubble, in my little world of education, and as a Black girl, and just all of that, just documenting how we're navigating through it, I think is important to me. And I think one day someone may look back and be like, well, it's good to kind of see their perspective, while this was going down,
Right. And like one day someone's going to be writing a paper about this and they're going to access an archive and it'll be like, oh, we found these super awesome recordings of these educators of color who documented their experience with this. And then we'll go down, in history.
I mean,
I'm just playing. People don't put our history in history books.
they don't. But social media has changed that kids aren't learning from the history books. They're learning from YouTube. They're learning from TikTok. So, back in the day, the textbook was the only way, the only information that teachers and students had access to. There was no Google. So it was whatever that textbook said, that's what the teacher would say, and that's what the kids would say, and everyone knew it to be true. And I think that's part of the issue why it's so hard to change the narrative now. Those folks are still alive, my parents, your parents, that, they can't deny the history that they were taught and the things that they were taught. And when we try to unlearn that, there needs to be an active unlearning happening to get that stuff out and put the new info in. So big ups to the new kids, the young, what are the generation after us? We millennials. The Gen Z. Shout out to Gen Z for being like
Gen Z.
They already know that those textbooks are shady, and they already ain't gonna read them anyway.
I was talking to my partner's niece earlier, and she was like, defund police, because when you say defund police, it doesn't actually mean get rid of police. It just means take that money and spend on something else. And I'm like, when I was her age, I would have never been able to articulate that. I would have never probably even heard of that. And so that's why I'm like, I feel hopeful about the election on Tuesday, only because I know that her sister, for example, just voted for the very first time. She, I think she just turned 20 or 21. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, there's like a whole new segment of voters out there that are more educated, more aware of the issues, that have more diverse friend groups. which is really important. As we all know, we educators here, we talk studies, we talk research. Research shows that there's more emotional intelligence when you have a more diverse crowd. The same goes in schools. The more diverse the school is, the better everyone's test scores are, because people become more intelligent and intellectual when they're surrounded by people who are not necessarily like them. Okay. And Gen Z, that's how they live and that's how they do it. And it's easier for them because they're on social media. They can be friends with somebody in Hong Kong. They can feel like they really know these K-pop stars just because of the internet. And I think that that's a great thing.
I do too, because thinking of that young lady describing defunding the police, try to get my 60-year-old father to understand that. You know what I mean?
It don't make no sense, right? Like my dad too. He has so much more life experience. He's seen so much of the ugliness of the world. My father's a Black man in his 60s. There's no way in hell he hasn't been stopped by the police. And, I can tell you stories. I can tell you about the time somebody's house was on fire. He tried to go tell him, and the white man answered the door with a gun in his hand. Like, can I help you? And I told my dad I would have left him right there and be like, nope, you sure can't. Sorry. That whole house burned down. But
let it burn.
My dad, he's of a different generation. He's a different person. He's a different person than I am, really, ultimately. And so he still told him, but yeah, it's like if I tried to explain to him like defund the police, I don't think he would understand what that means, not even for a second. So.
Well, and it makes me think of this episode I just watched last night on Netflix. Social Distancing is the name of it's a Netflix original series or whatever, and it's actual actors, if you haven't watched it, who are in Hollywood, but each one is like a 22-minute, episode, and they're showing different lives or scenes of people during the pandemic. It's really fresh. It feels really new. Mm-hmm. And one of the episodes is dealing with an older Black man and a young Black man who's Gen Z. And they are talking about the protests and George Floyd. And it is like real dialogue. It's very, very good. So if you haven't checked that out, I would suggest you do it. Social Distancing on Netflix. It's really good. Like, honestly.
Nice. If I wasn't so tired, I'd probably put that up on the screen. But girl, I am so exhausted.
It ain't that serious. It ain't about Maroon. Unless we're gonna put that Cash App up. I ain't too worried about.
Hold on, I've just been renewed in my spirit. I just felt the spirit of energy just into my veins right now. Let me just go ahead and put up that kitchen.
Well, I'm so glad to be talking to LJ tonight. Those of you who have watched any of our episodes will know that there's been a lot of turmoil, especially in the state of Texas and for educators. And it's been a very emotionally manipulative and abusive relationship between the Board of Education and the Texas Education Agency and the school districts and teachers. And teachers have no power, no control, no nothing in the state. And so since the last time we talked, I asked to be released from my contract.
Ooh,
and so
I thought we were gonna save that hot tea for next week.
Baby, it's too fresh. We can't hold to next week. We got to talk about that now because this is the first drink I've had since I quit my job because I don't have to drink anymore. I don't have to drink anymore.
That's hilarious.
And I have never felt better, and I know that I made the right decision. And so, please know, parents and parents especially, please know that your students, your kids, have a lot of really good teachers that are leaving. There's just nothing else to say. There's nothing else to say. And I'm not even bragging about myself like I'm the best teacher in the world, but I'm saying, like, aside from me, there are other educators who are like, peace out. I refuse to be treated this way. I have dignity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the saddest thing about this whole situation is because I know that there are so many good teachers out there who are passionate teachers who love to teach. But I mean, what are they supposed to do? They're supposed to choose between teaching and like protecting their families, their own health and safety. It's not right. So unfortunately, Texas lost a good one. They really, really did. I mean, when I talk about being a teacher, I tell people all the time that Celia is the person that got me into teaching. She's the reason I'm a good teacher. She taught me all of her tricks. This is what I say about Celia. I'd be like, I'm not really a teacher. I'm a theater person who found out that she likes teaching. But my best friend Celia is a teacher. She's always been good at it. She's always known that she wanted to do that. And she's amazing at it. And she got all of the credentials for it too. So, I mean, yeah, Texas lost a good one.
Y'all can hit that book club. maroonarts.com slash freedom hyphen school. If you want your kid to be, there it is. You know what I mean? If you want them to get a little
Yeah,
education
I'm
from me.
feeling
But
like
in all seriousness, I understand that I come.
what'd you
Say it
say?
again.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I was saying in all seriousness, I understand that I come from a place of privilege to be able to quit my job. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I did not want to quit my job. I exhausted every, and LJ would know because she's with me through each step of the way. I exhausted every single option and opportunity, and they denied me for hardship leave, FMLA leave, every leave that I requested. I had a doctor's note from my son's pediatrician. Everything I did, they denied me, and it left me with no option. I was willing to take an unpaid leave so I don't lose my job. And I mean, it's a shame that if I had alcohol addiction, that I could have gone to rehab and FMLA would have been covered. But for the things that I put on there for my son's health and things like that were not covered. And so that's absurd, but that's neither here nor there. All I'm saying is that good luck to these people. And I know that I have a safety net. I'm at my mom's house right now, so that's why my background looks like this. And I know that push come to shove, I won't be homeless. I won't be in a box. I may not be living the life that I want, but I know I have a room here,
Yeah.
And so that's a privilege that I have that a lot of educators, a lot of people do not have. And I'm aware of that because if other people had that safety net, they may would step out on faith too. Now, I have other opportunities coming my way. So I will not have to come live here. But at the same time, I do realize that that's my privilege speaking there.
That's a part of it too, right? Because I mean, you are an amazing teacher, so you will have other opportunities. And so, if you, oh Lord, it always seems to come back to this, but it's like, if they want to keep good teachers, you would think that they would want to keep good teachers happy. But I just personally believe that public school in Texas, I think that they just wanted to flip the school choice. And I think that they're dismantling public schools on purpose.
On God. As kids say, oh God. Like, I have nothing to say about that. I definitely think that they are moving towards a charter thing, which I've always, my position on charter is split. I have it's like a catch-22. I understand both sides of the argument. I've worked in an alternative charter school for high school dropout prevention, and I've worked in public schools, and I see both sides of the coin, and it's difficult. But if we go all to charter, I hope Black folks in particular take advantage of that situation. If public schools, cease to exist or don't exist like what we know them to, I hope that Black folks like us create learning opportunities for Black kids, and they can have a charter experience that would be customized to their life, because that's what the charter promotes.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do, is try to take your education into your own hands. And also, too, part of the reason why I wanted to get started with Freedom School is because you don't want to wait until it's too late for there to be options. That's the thing about educators that I don't think people really pay enough attention to. Educators, sorry, I'm trying to fix
Get it right, get it tight.
They're smart and they're knowledgeable in their field. And so you can anticipate what the climate is, what the future is going to be. And then I do feel that the educators of the world will come together and start to come up with some creative solutions. I really do. I hope it's a new day. I really do.
I hope so. The main barrier that a lot of teachers feel is that we have all these skills. Like, a teacher is literally so many things. We're counselors, we're, coaches, we're parents, we're moms, we're dads, we're administrators, we're teachers, we're all of these things. And when we try to transfer into another job opportunity, it's not transferable as easily as we would want it to be,
As it should be, honestly.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. So
we'll just take it out.
Okay, hold on. I don't know what I'm doing. And I have only had that one drink. Okay, I had 2 drinks, but you know what I'm saying. So it's so loud outside. My mom's community is usually like so quiet. It's dogs, it's animals. Anyway, but I just it's hard to transfer these skills. And when you try to get another job, they'll be like, oh, never mind, or oh no, we're not interested, or are people trick-or-treating right now?
Bruh, I've literally never like, what was that?
I don't know, I'm grossed out. It's like kids out here, like so distracted. Anyways, gross. I think Johan may be ready. Can we bring him on? Because he wanted to talk about how this stuff translates into politics. And so
I wanted to talk about how we're doing so far as virtual learning so far. Where do you go? Oh, here we go. We'll add him in. Johan.
What's up with it?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, but if you're going to be chewing, I'm going to have to mute you.
I'm going to be crunching mad loud.
Okay. LJ can't take it.
All right, I'm done now.
Okay. Welcome to the show, Johan. Everyone who's watching, you all know this is Johan. He is one of the teachers for Freedom School. He teaches math empowerment. And he is anyone else hearing that feedback? Yeah.
That's on my end. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh, I see. So he's teaching math empowerment. We actually just launched a new initiative for homework help. So if you're having a hard time teaching your student their math homework, because let's be real, a lot of us have not looked at math in, a very long time, then they can log on once a week and Johan will help them with their math homework. So make sure that you do that. I should probably put that up on the screen too, y'all, but.
And have your babies drop in for English and writing, reading and writing as well. I'm here to assist with any of those assignments that they may have if they need additional help or tutoring, and I'm here for them as well.
Yeah.
So, hey, listen, we need to have a discussion on English too, for real, because as much as I harp about math and all that, understand I was an English major, and I'm seeing like first of all, the amount of kids that I'm hearing that be trying to talk about I don't like to read. What are you talking about? The amount of kids that don't know how to write proper sentences, that are just trying to just get their homework done. And I'm like, yo, man, you need to learn how to write.
Well, when you look at the curriculum and you look at overwhelmingly the way reading is being taught nowadays, it is taught as a chore. It is taught as an assessment. It is not taught as an experience, a relaxing, fun experience that you should get all the way into. It is taught as in how are you going to answer these multiple choice questions. And we've talked about that before. And so I understand where kids are coming from in this age of accountability. These kids have only been learning how to select A, B, C, or D since kindergarten, on a reading. They're not reading because it's an enjoyable experience.
And also they're not reading anything interesting. Like I don't look back fondly on anything I was forced to read when I was in high school. The only book that we were asked to read by a person of color was like Zora Neale Hurston when we were in like 11th grade. And I really feel like they didn't even really investigate why they wanted to teach that book. They just picked a Black author who wrote in dialect so that they could teach us what dialect means, instead of teaching us the context and the history of the book. And so because of that, I didn't even really appreciate that until I was in college. So, I mean, Portrait of Dorian Gray, bleh, like, what is that one I hate the most? I wish my sister was here because she would be able to tell me. It was that one with them Watership Down. Terrible. I hated all of those books so much. And really, it just taught me how to cheat really early in life, because there's no way I was really about to read about Johnny Tremaine and his platinum hand that he got from being in the Civil War as a blacksmith. Like literally, that's all you need to know for the test. And, that's all I could remember.
And that is what the kids do. But, I recall, I had my early childhood education was in Maryland and Missouri. And I recall teachers reading to me, with me, because it was fun. We didn't even have questions. Like we would just read Boxcar Children and all this stuff, because it was interesting. And it was never, so let's do these multiple choice questions once we're done. It was a page turner. I couldn't wait to get to the next chapter because my teachers made it such that we thought we were just like sitting down to like watch a movie. Like we would sit down and read books like, oh my God, like a Netflix series. Like, okay, when we last left off, the Boxcar children were about to embark on an adventure. What are they going to do next? Like, we couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next, you know? And it's not like that anymore.
They dropped that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, and I see it with my 6-year-old, because even in first grade, he's reading these books, but it's not like just for enjoyable experience. It's like, so what's the main idea? What does this word mean? How can you tell? Give text evidence at 6 years old. He's giving text evidence at 6. Mm-hmm.
I think they don't do that. I mean, even when we were younger, you got that in elementary school and maybe in middle school, but there is no enjoyment reading once you get to high school. That, I think, is a big problem. Like, and once you get to 9th grade, at no point are you ever given the time to explore and figure out what you like to read and be empowered to really focus on that. It's like, in order to have reading as a hobby, you have to have time to go to the library outside of homework and school, you know?
And that is not allowable. These kids are so busy and so on tech, you know, nowadays, that they just don't they just don't even desire to go to the library really in the first place. And they just want to say, like Johan said, that they don't like to read. They just want to say, I don't like to read. And I'm like, you don't like to read anything? There's nothing. I mean, it's like a kabillion topics out there. You don't like anything in the world?
I used to tease my sister about only reading magazines, but then it's like, as a teacher, I'm like, ain't nothing wrong with that. Like, what's wrong with that?
There's
you know,
if
I had a student that wanted to write a report on an article from a magazine, I wouldn't have a problem with that, because once you get to grad school, they care about them academic articles anyway. Like, what's the difference? Mm-hmm. What is the difference?
The difference is that it's not in the curriculum. It's not on the state assessment.
That's the difference. It's not on the state assessment.
So if it's not on the state assessment, so just like drama is not on the state assessments, they put poetry on state assessments, but it's like dry poetry of horses, you know, galloping in the wind,
gone by,
and that's it.
In the snow.
Ain't no Maya Angelou or none of that is on the test. It's like, phew, that I read it and I'm like, boy, I probably fell asleep on the second stanza. There's no rhyme structure. There's, you know. And they'll ask that question, what was the rhyme scheme? And the rhyme scheme is none. And it's like, giving them poems.
Again, what difference does that make? Because the Shakespeare's rhyming scheme is something that he invented, and now it's something that's taught on the state assessment. So really, none of it matters. It's more critical to teach innovation and invention and creativity than it is to teach what's already been made.
You preaching the word. I feel like Johan need to pop in on that, because you know what I mean?
Johan's in the middle of dinner right now. Like, he tuned into the podcast. So he's got his OnlyFans, actually, where he eats potato chips. So this is just a little free taste.
I'm very expensive.
I was telling you, I wish I was going to make an OnlyFans, but only for like people that like to watch black girls take braids down. That's about all I can do for
that's what my homegirl's like. She about to start OnlyFans for people that like to just watch teachers grade papers on the weekend. I was like, you know, there's a market for everything. You know what I'm saying?
I'm sure there's no market for that.
That's what I said. I said, and I was like, even OnlyFans won't have me grading papers on the weekend. I'm good, love. I'm not popping in. Hello, pay teachers for grading homework. Let's start there. Pay teachers for doing work at home. Let's do that. Let's create a timesheet, and I can clock in from home like I did all throughout the pandemic and grade papers. And we are honest people who care about our field. We're not clocking in 10 hours every night of grading papers. Let me get my little 1 or 2 hours that I spend grading papers. I would actually do it.
Yeah.
Because I ain't.
No, it's too much. It's too much. There's no time cut out for that.
Somebody did the math on that, like Johan said. Somebody did the math on that. Like, most middle school, high school teachers who teach like 120 kids, especially if you're an English teacher and you're grading essays and stuff like that, if you were to do the real mathematical time that it takes if a teacher were to actually sit down and grade and give quality feedback, it's so many hours outside of the work, out of the workday. It's unfathomable.
It's
literally.
It's really.
And so that's why I don't do it.
See, here's the problem. So this is part of the discussion that I wanted to bring up in the Clubhouse thing, because There have been so many conversations about capitalism, the economy, this and that, along with all the other ratchet topics. And the thing is I keep coming back to this idea of education and politics, right? And politics as it relates to the economy. I have to spend, I don't know how many hours or how much time grading papers and doing a better job on my off time. And then also that calls into question homework itself and all that other stuff. But either which way it goes, you're asking for me to do my maximum job over and over and over again. You know what I mean? For the future people to be trained well enough to keep the economy going, right? And so what's going to end up happening is eventually teachers are going to get more tired. The tests get shorter. They get more worn out. They just kind of go through the motion because they have no incentive to work harder on behalf of your kids other than it coming from their heart and it being their belief. But you saw how many teachers have retired. They were like, nope.
Yeah.
And that's a brain drain right there. There's like all kinds of that could be 20 years, 30 years of knowledge gone out the institution.
We were just talking about that, how all these teachers are leaving the field right now because they're underpaid, undervalued, and now they're being put into danger, literal danger.
Like physical health danger. You know, if I can't grade papers during my work day, during my planning period, during the class period, because some schools put in policies where students can grade other students' work and stuff like that. If it isn't getting done then good luck to them. And I stand on that. I stand on that. I stand on it.
I'm a theater teacher, so I can't really speak too much to this. But I will say that in my experience, I've had several administrators come to me and say, hey, we need more text-based evaluations, and we want to see the grades in the grade book. We want to see worksheets, tests, and these kinds of things, paper tests, in your lesson plan. And me, I just pushed back and I'm like, I give them vocabulary every week, and then I can see in their performances whether or not they've mastered the understanding of those words. There's no reason for me to give them a piece of paper so that I can see whether or not they know what this word means. I can ask them to write a play and then perform it and know whether or not they know what this word means.
We know the reason is because teachers are micromanaged. So,
oh my gosh, that's like a whole other, that's a whole other episode.
Like, we're not treated as professionals. Go ahead, girl.
No, you go ahead. Go on.
I'm just saying we're not treated as professionals. In any other profession, you are given the confidence that you'll just get your job done. Like, even if you'll get it done. And in education, it's like, Jesus, they are, every I has to be dotted, every T, they're checking it to excess. And they do not have any belief in our expertise. And I'm not to say that every teacher is an expert, because there are a lot of first year teachers and they're not experts. I wasn't an expert teacher in my first year, but at the same, but micromanage that teacher, like have a more of a hands-on approach with that teacher, just like they tell us to do individualized and instruction and differentiation with our students. It should be the same for the grown people. It should be the same for the teachers, that if a teacher needs more support, then you give them support. And if a teacher does not, lay off a little bit, just lay off.
Is that happening based on race? Is that possible that it's happening to Black teachers? Have you seen? Because I don't know. I don't see as much questioning of a veteran. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years and I feel like now I'm getting my just due. But, there's a point at which, I do ask, just like any other job circumstance, could that be possibly racial?
It could be. I mean,
it could be. My personal experience, from what I could see, has not been. It's been more like the blanket umbrella effect. All right, we want all of you, and we're going to micromanage the whole team. So all of you, we need you to have data uploaded by end of day today. We need you to have, 2 grades in by Friday at 5 p.m. We need lesson plans in by Sunday at 5 p.m. And very followed up on, very, sending out emails and sending out documentation. And it's just, It doesn't matter if you say, I honestly have more leeway in college.
Are they putting that same energy into the kids though?
No. No,
Oh, okay.
because they expect you to micromanage the kids while also being micromanaged yourself, which just does not make a whole lot of sense. When do you have time to micromanage the students if you're being forced to turn lesson plans in for every? And the thing about the lesson plans that used to kill me is, okay, so back to your question, Johan. I don't know that it's about race. I know that my initial feeling was that it was because I was an elective teacher, and because elective teachers, while often like are appreciated for the aesthetics, like, oh, we loved your little program. Oh yeah, the kids love your class. Let's give you 35 students, 40 students in one class. But at the same time, they don't always appreciate your ability to teach. You know, you're kind of more valued for your art form than you are for your teaching ability. And so initially I thought it was because I was an elective teacher. But as I went through, you know, a few years teaching, I agree with Celia. It's just blanket across the board. Now, with lesson plans as an elective teacher, I had 3 grade levels. I had 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And so that means that when they were requiring, so again, going back to individualized, right, support, it's one thing to require a 7th grade English teacher to turn lesson plans in by Sunday by 5. 7th grade English teacher is having one lesson that they're teaching over and over again all day, every day. And there may be a little differentiation for your gifted and talented and then for your SPED, but like essentially it's the same lesson. Whereas when you have 3 grade levels, I was having to turn in lesson plans for all 3 grade levels for every single day. And it was just too much. And when I would go to my administrator to say, this is ridiculous, and plus it's like we're scaffolding here. So it's like everything the 6th graders are doing, the 7th graders are doing, the 8th graders are doing, it's just getting more difficult as we go up the grade level. There was just no room for individualization or adjustments. It was like, no, this is the requirement across the board for everybody. And so no exceptions for you.
And that's crazy. I mean, and it's just ridiculous.
The 1 year I taught high school, oh my God, I had theater 1, 2, 3, 4, and technical theater. That's 5 sections. That's 5 sections. If I was a university professor with 5 sections, I'd be tenure track.
Which doesn't even exist in Texas. We don't even have tenure down here.
That's ridiculous. So, I mean, and then having the same expectations of everyone else in terms of paperwork, while also planning a show, a fundraiser, 1-act play competition, field trip, all that extra stuff. So yeah, it's just like there's no individual support for teachers. Everyone's expected to do the same unrealistic expectations.
And for some pish posh pay too.
Oh,
so
to hit you back. I'm so glad I escaped. I'm just so glad I escaped.
I thought that was your drink, Candy, you, but that was
that was the drink. No, I'm just so glad that I don't do that anymore, because I just flashed back to that 1 year I taught high school, and it was so bad, y'all. It was so bad. The principal hated my guts. Little known fact about, you know, schools, public schools and high schools is like the principal did not hire me. The school district hired me up from underneath her, and she resented me for that for the entire year that I worked there. But it's just one of those bureaucracy things. Like she couldn't do nothing about it. I couldn't do nothing about it. God, I hate school. That was horrible.
I remember. And I'm glad you made it over and made it out. And on top of all that, they want us to grade papers over the weekend. And not to mention teachers who have families, and even teachers who don't have families. Because I hate that people want to always talk about teachers with families, but even teachers who don't have kids and a husband and it's a wife, whatever, at home. Who is to say that they should spend their off time doing work for your school? They should be able to sit around and watch Netflix and eat popcorn or whatever they want to do or sleep. Like
teachers with business. If you got business, then you should be able to attend to it.
That's it. So
that's it.
Y'all.
No,
yeah, no, it's yeah, no, I was gonna say it's really it's stressful. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to worry about other people's kids all the time. You know what I mean? So that amount of investment where we're like part social worker, you know, it's a lot of work. So if they don't, people got to understand that, like, education overall, if you don't take care of teachers, hey man, a lot of stuff's going to go down the drain. you know.
We
Yeah,
gonna see.
and it will. I definitely think that education is like a super, like one of the biggest. It's like a really big cog in the capitalist machine. Just to try to go back to Johanse's earlier point, but it's an underappreciated cog, and it's definitely not valued at what it should be valued at, right? Because the dumbing down of America is the reason why Donald Trump is president right now. Let's just be honest. And was that a hot take? I don't know. I feel like everybody just knows and acknowledges this at this point. And so it's like, how do we get here? Well, you look at the education system. If you want to know how we got to this current political moment we're in right now, you need only track the decline and decay of education in America over the past 5 decades.
Exactly my point that I was bringing. Exactly.
I mean, yeah. You want to expand on that, Johan?
No, because what I was going to say, if you just look at how social studies is taught in this country in general, and maybe not in the whole country, because I have seen some schools do like, the mock elections and things like that. In 8th grade, everything really feels abstract to the kids. And that is the first year that they're getting, or the first year that they're getting heavy United States history in the state of Texas. I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but that learning those 3 branches of government and all that just feels really abstract to the kids. They don't really get it. And I remember the Electoral College. I remember all of that stuff just being like mystical. Like I didn't understand it until I was like an adult, like a grown like person registering to vote and like going out and trying to like understand what's happening. Because all through high school and middle school, although my teachers taught it to me, it didn't connect to me.
You know what is a really big oversight? In the, you know how whenever, I know y'all remember this because we're all old millennials here, but in school, whenever there was an election year, they would do a mock election at your school. Do you all remember that? And then like go in and pretend to vote for different candidates. Did you guys do that, or was that just me?
I was in New Jersey and I did not do that. And now I probably had the opportunity. I didn't participate. What I remember from social studies was remote, just memorization, names, dates, facts, places, like, and that was it. And I would just take multiple choice tests and match things and get 100 on my report
this
card.
was like the whole school. So like, if it was an election year, the whole school would be like, all right, you're going to go down during your English class and you're going to cast a vote for who you think should be president. And we'll see who wins at the school, and then we'll compare and see who wins for the country. And it was kind of, I guess, a way of training people to do their civic duty.
I know about mock elections. I've been in a school that did mock elections, but now I was in high school and I wasn't really interested in school. So we may have done mock elections, but I do not recall it. And if we did it, I didn't participate and wasn't interested.
I think it was mostly like elementary, middle school. Johan, did you do mock elections?
We had like a student body government in a sense, but I also went to a program called JSA, Junior Statesmen of America. So that was kind of my understanding of kind of a little bit of politics with high school, other high school age kids.
I'm talking about in elementary school.
Oh no,
George Bush, when who was running for president when I was in elementary school? Bill Clinton and them was running for president. They used to take my 4th grade ass down the hallway and be like, go make a pretend vote. And that was it.
Make a pretend vote.
Yeah. And then we'll see who wins.
Cute. That's so cute.
It is.
I mean,
no, but you know what that's doing? It's making you understand civic duty from a very early age.
But what they missed was the Electoral College, right?
Sure.
Because I started believing that is when I started believing that everybody's vote counted the same, and that I feel like the popular vote was the vote.
I feel like they missed a lot. So I feel like the mock voting is cute, but it shouldn't just be for president. It should be for all the other positions, and it should be and you should have an understanding of the local elections. And it's like, why don't we really, really get that unless you join something like what Johan did, like unless you join an organization that's about like teaching you about our political processes. Just the general education, I remember not knowing anything about any of that until I didn't have an interest. So I have to keep putting that little disclaimer there. But I just didn't learn about local elections, those positions. I still don't know what a comptroller is, like what they do. Like, you know, I can, what they do?
You said what?
A comptroller.
Right.
That he on there in the railroad commission. What the railroad commission doing? Because I'm voting and I'm looking them up, but I don't really know their duties like that, to be honest.
I go to the progressive voting guide and I just go straight progressive voting guide.
Same.
See, here's the problem though. This is where, you know, things diverge, where, you know, your interest in something and someone introducing it to you, right? I mean, should it be made more interesting? Yeah. But a lot of times we look at it as, look, just go out and vote. That's the basic part.
Yep.
Right. But no, there's a lot about our government we really should know. Like, these are things that for survival, people should like actively understand. So there should be an emphasis at some point, because we have a government class, but it's never really done in the depth of, this is the license that you have to do, you know.
I was in AP government in high school, and all I remember from that class was that we got to take a trip to Washington, D.C., and that's where I bought my first bootleg bag. It was a Kate Spade bootleg. It was denim. It was a clutch. It was all the rage. Brittany and Justin had just gone to the VMAs in a denim on denim ensemble. So I
remember that.
Mm-hmm. That's literally all I remember from AP government.
Wow, that's amazing.
And you know, and if you talk to other countries, other democratic countries, they really laugh at the fact that Americans are so ignorant in this area. Like, they really do a lot of work to make sure that their children are learning about the process, you know, at an early age. And of course, things start at home, but some of this stuff is even above. I know my parents, you know, have never been into politics, and you would think they would be, with my dad being an old military guy. Like, the president is literally your commander in chief. And you don't know about the functions of the government. He just joined the military because that was the option that was given to him as a young boy in Mississippi. So, you know,
they teach military people to be apolitical, like not even bipartisan, like not even adhering to one party. They try to teach military people to like not even acknowledge or be involved in politics at all.
But they have to be because it's intertwined.
It's kind of weird, but yeah, that's what I hear. That's what it's like. Oh yeah, we're not really supposed to be into any of that. And I'm like,
when they walk into every single building and there's the pictures of the president, the vice president, all of the, you know, all the cabinet members, that when they pull the flags down every day, they're playing the anthem. And you have to stop your cars and all this stuff on a military base, but be apolitical. Okay.
Right. Be patriotic, but apolitical.
Make it make sense, Jesus. We go to the movies on the military base. They're starting off with the national anthem. We have to stand like at the movie theaters. Mm-hmm. And
after they turn off the lights.
After they turn off the lights, like it's the presentation, and most people can't wait to see it. It's like a beautiful flag and amber waves of grain. They play America the Beautiful. It's like it's a production. Like, before
you know, I'm a theater person, so you know that's why I asked about the lights. I'm like, is it just a dry thing like you do at school in the morning, or is it like the football games where it's like produced?
It's everyone stands up, they take their hats off, you know, and like in the movie theater on a military base. So that's that cult.
So you and I are so spicy today. I've been having hot takes on everything. I did a webinar earlier today, and yeah, it's just been hot takes all day. I'm here for it. I'm fed up.
I don't even realize I have hot takes. This is just what it is. I didn't quit my little job, and this is how I act.
Oh, Johan, were you on the screen when Celia was talking about it?
I don't think so.
Celia quit her job.
When?
Wednesday.
What?
I had to. I you know, they want me to come back to work face to face.
Wait, what?
Okay, so, you know, I mean, I was trying to take FMLA and hardship and all that and leaves, and they denied every single option that I had. I had a doctor's note, I had this, that, and the other, and they would not even let me take an unpaid leave. So I had to ask to be released from my contract because it was about to get to a point where I would be like considered like abandoning my job because they want me to come in face to face to teach the children, which, you know, I mean, honestly, I have friends who are going face to face. They don't want to do it, but they're saying it's okay at this point, like they're falling into the groove and getting used to it. But I will never get used to, 600 cases a day of COVID in this county. I will never get used to that number going up every day, and they can keep that. It ain't that serious. It ain't that serious. It's not that education is everything to me, and it's not that serious. Stay home, learn how to cook, be with your family, do something, start a garden. It's not that serious for you to be in a schoolhouse on a Chromebook. I can't even talk to you or be within 6 feet of you. I'm babysitting you in a desk. Have a good day. Go home.
I don't even think that they had school during the 1918 pandemic.
They did outside, I think.
Outside?
Yeah, Brooke was saying that they had outside school.
But it's, 1918 is like a different type of life to where schools were much smaller, classes were much smaller.
It was a privilege to be able to go to school.
Right. A lot of students weren't even in school by 1918. I'm like, my great grandmother, the woman who raised my mother, she was the daughter of a formerly enslaved person. And in 1918, she would have been, she was born in 1904. Johan, run them numbers for me. She would have been 14. She would have been 14, and she also probably would have been like, married with kids. Like she was in school. She was, and
even in school was like the Little Red Schoolhouse, and they were learning like arithmetic in English, and then they would go home and work the fields and help their families and stuff like that. Like it was not, it was a lot more agricultural. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like what we do now, where kids are in school from 7 a.m. until 6 p.m. every day. When you add up the time, the buses and the after school activities and tutoring or whatever you want to do, kids are in school for almost 12 hours a day. And that is what our parents are missing. They really want their kids to be away from them for 12 hours a day. And I feel them. I feel it. Okay, I understand. But at the same time, we're in a pandemic. So there's that. Stay home.
And also the thing that always trips me up is like, yeah, kids are at school for 12 hours every day, but let's be realistic. They're only doing about 4 or 5 hours worth of work. And that's where the biggest disconnect, I think, is in this virtual environment. Is parents expected students to be doing like virtual school for like the same hours that they do regular school, but they're not. Like there's just not the same. Once you have advisory period, lunch, recess, athletics. I mean, if you're in high school, you got 2 off periods, office assistant. Like you're just not actually doing a full day's worth of work. And as adults, we should understand that, because with a 40-hour work week, we too are not doing a full day's worth of work at work. If you have a regular 9 to 5, studies show that you're probably really only doing like 5 hours of actual, maybe even less, of actual work every day, because there's just no need. And so when you put these two pieces of information together, to me, it sounds like adults should be putting in less hours at work and students should be putting in less hours at school. And then that makes up the difference. Then it's not an issue of like, oh, I have to go to work all day. I need childcare. Let's just open the schools.
Can you imagine 1918, like you're saying, like, I'll have to do the research on if they were in school all like that all day.
No.
One way or another. But like, yeah, people spending a lot of time together or time absent from each other. It's going to be one or the other. Right. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that now. A lot of routine got broken. And it's funny because I started thinking about it, like all of these families being on like one really long road trip. You know what I mean? Like a really long road trip. Like you really got to figure out how to stand that person. And, that gets offloaded onto us. And it's like, no. I'm trying to help them build skills and parent them in another way. But I'm not a babysitter. I can't take on that extra responsibility. And so, look, let's get to the heart of the matter that I want to ask. Why are we being micromanaged like this? Who's benefiting from that? Why? Because I'm thinking to myself today, where's like clearly there must be a money incentive or something.
Yes.
I
think we're going to continue this conversation at the after hours spot, the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Wink, wink. But I I think that I think it's benefiting in capitalism is exactly who's benefiting from this, because because number one, George Bush said no child left behind. And because of that, teachers are experiencing increased pressure to do everything they can to show that it is not their fault when a student fails. That's not the same thing as teaching them or ensuring that they know the things they need to know. But all of these lesson plans, DOLs, lesson objectives, today the student will be able to X, Y, and Z. All of that is just CYA, cover your ass paperwork, so that when the students don't pass, you can say, I, the teacher, did everything that I could to prevent that. I really think that that's a big part of it. And then the other thing is, like we were just saying, like you got to keep the kids in school all day so that the parents can go to work and be a cog in a machine.
Listen, education nowadays is big business, and it's absolutely money, Johanna. To the textbooks, to the contracts with the people who make the tests, like the actual test booklets, ETS, and all them. They are making billions, like with a B, billions of dollars, even with busing, and it's just big business. Education is big business. So when we're talking about who's benefiting from it, you already know who's benefiting from it. And honestly, the kids who are wealthy and come from privilege, their parents can put them in private school, tutoring, whatever it is, where they don't have to take the state assessments and they don't have to do all these things, and they'll still be CEOs of a business. So it ends up only being the regular old guys that are being subjected to the capitalist ways of education.
We are the proletariat, y'all.
And that's that. You know what I mean?
Oh my gosh, it's so depressing. However, as a Maroon, I don't subscribe to any of that. I don't. And if that means that one day I'll have a kid and I'll have to like homeschool them or something like that, or outschool them, or life school, or like grass fed, pasture raised, all organic, unpasteurized school, like whatever you know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. If I have to do that, then that's fine. But right. I have a hard time even working that 9-to-5 grind. I can't do it anymore. And so I certainly can't see myself subjecting my kid to it. I think it's unhealthy.
Same. And that's why I quit my job.
Hold on.
It literally came down to my son, and that he is unlike the majority, I would say, of parents. My son is he is thriving in virtual school, and I have more control over what's going on with him, and he's less distracted from his peers and things like that. So for me, I can't see subjecting him to being in a school building for 10 hours and getting in trouble and getting the stigma and all this kind of thing, when he could just be at home with me and be here with family or whatever, and learn math and learn reading and learn science and learn social studies online. But the real learning is with family.
And you're still able to get your job done effectively. Because here's the thing, I can teach you math right here. You know what I mean? The things you need to know are generally right here. Uh-huh. How to break down a text, how to read something, how to discuss something, how to have a discussion, an informed discussion doesn't have to be always face to face, as we can see. That's the thing, as we are showing.
That kills me, because it's like people will be like, oh, teachers got to go to work, like, because, like grocery store workers got to go to work. It's like you literally cannot work at the grocery store virtually. Somebody got to bag the groceries. Somebody got to put the groceries on the shelf. Now I can get somebody to go pick them up for me. I personally do not have to go to the grocery store, but they have to be purchased from a human being. Like you have to, until the Amazon grocery stores take over the world. And even then they'll need humans to stock them. Like there are some things that just cannot be done virtually. And that's why they are considered essential workers. Teachers are not essential workers. Their work is essential, but it is not essential for them to be in person. It's just not.
Tell my district that, because they wrote it in policy.
Yeah,
considered essential workers. Therefore, we must come face to face. But I wholeheartedly feel that this job can be done effectively virtually. That's why we have Freedom School, and that's why we have other online tutoring platforms, because obviously it works. It works.
And at the end of the day, these teachers be having whole doctorates, master's degrees in education, 30 years in education. And if they have been given the time and the resources to make virtual learning work, instead of wasting their time trying to cram something that's unsafe and unstable into like a weird format, it just seems like such a colossal waste of time, because at the end of the day, all them Texas schools about to be virtual anyway.
Well, we'll see, because I don't know how many cases it's going to take for them to go back virtual.
Even though they said that once Texas is in the red zone, they were going to do that.
We're in the red zone.
And yet the schools remain open.
With the district
superintendent. Let me take a sip to that.
We're in the red zone. We're in the red zone. They upped us back to red last week.
Really?
The superintendent said that maybe if we see 1,000 cases per day in our hey Dad. that if we see 1,000 cases a day, that they would consider not having spectators at the sporting events.
That's ridiculous. Did I just
you guys. Wait, what?
Oh, I was just thinking, did I call your dad the wrong name? I don't know why I did that just now.
What you said, Mr. What?
King. I said King.
Oh, that's my
I don't know why I did that.
It's all good. Whatever. He's got
it. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. So spectators at the games will be the only thing that they consider getting rid of.
If we get to 1,000 cases a day.
If we get to 1,000 a day. I also think it's super interesting that they gave access to rapid COVID testing to student athletes this week.
They did.
You guys. This is where we're going, huh? This is where we're going.
We're supposed to be getting off of here and going to Clubhouse, but
okay, no, we need to get off of here, because I can't say all of this in such a public profile. But this is a problem. This is a problem. Seriously, this is a problem, you guys. And the sense of urgency really needs to be on this. Like
right now.
Everything, like every time I get in these discussions about the economy and where we're headed, no, it is the education. We cannot afford to act like we can play with this anymore. This is really bad. Now it's turning into lemming type mentality, not herd mentality, but I will fall off a cliff mentality. That's really bad. You know what I mean? So like, nah, we got to get this figured out.
Well, when you have the leader of the free world, that's what they like to call him, saying that it's not a big deal and it doesn't affect children, and the CDC is changing what they say based upon what he says instead of science, and things like that, you end up with school districts with people who are in leadership who follow that rhetoric and follow that person who put in policy in places, because that's what we call systemic, right? And hey, Sissy Pooh. Oh,
hey, Cindy.
She said she came to refill my glass. It's happy hour.
Lit.
I really appreciate. Shout out to Cindy.
Family.
Lit.
They're saying lit. They're all like shouting out.
Yeah.
Cindy's our director of community engagement for Maroon Arts and Culture.
Shout out to Cindy.
Shout out.
Yeah, and so you have positions. So when we talk systemic, that's what I'm talking about. Institutionalized. When you have people in power who are making these decisions in large urban school districts, and affecting the Black and brown community the most with this rhetoric, when we know that this virus has been affecting the Black and brown communities the most. And you say, let's just send them all back to in person. And then it's because of the economy, and it's because we have my kids' parents are working construction and working at Whataburger or whatever it is, and they have to go to work to live because there's no stimulus check, there's no unemployment expansion, there's nothing. Like
eviction protection is running out.
And you can't, in a large urban area, you don't want your 14-year-old son at home by himself.
No.
In a neighborhood that's tough.
That's expensive.
Sounds like a country ripe for fascism.
It sounds like a country steeped in fascism.
I mean, basically.
And white supremacy.
I mean, what else are you going to call it? What else do you basically call it but just a stratified fascism? Like, as long as I have this, I'm better over you down here. So we're all just trying to fight to get around a certain space. And then there's some people who, look, God bless them. They don't know no better. Their teachers don't know no better. Nobody around them knew no better. And they doing the same thing as has always been done. And nobody's upgrading the system and saying, no, we have to now hold to another kind of standard.
I've never felt more like a maroon. I've never felt more like a maroon.
But everybody's saying no, Johanse. Everybody you know feels the exact same way that you feel right now.
Sure. They say that.
But the people that
but they also don't understand, like, nah, that means like we have to go on all cylinders, like we're not doing this, like you got to figure it out.
But unfortunately, the people we know are not the ones that are making those decisions. They're not the people that are in power, because obviously if everyone that we knew, if they were in positions of power, they would be the ones saying, let's shut this down, let's close this out.
I just, we'll get into this in depth because we're about to wrap it up. Let me go ahead and put the offering up on the screen. We'll do the offering, the benediction. But yeah, dude, it's like everybody I know feels the same way as I feel and agrees with me. But we can't all go on all cylinders. And what I mean by that is, like, we are all given a certain set of gifts. And so we need to, like, cooperative economics means coming together and figuring out what each person is good at and allowing people to excel in the area in which they are excellent. And so it can't always be, and this is like, I don't even know why we waited until 1 hour to get to this part of the conversation, because I have a whole soapbox. But like Ice Cube, 50 Cent, Lil Wayne, these people are not politicians, right? So why would we expect them to be good at politics? And so what needs to happen is people just need to self-evaluate and say, what is it that I'm good at? And who do I need to connect to in order to make my skills help fix this greater solution, instead of being like Kanye West and running for president, because there's no point. That is not your skill set. That is not your lane. But you do have enough money to support someone whose lane that is. You do have the platform to endorse someone whose lane that is. You're an entertainer. You can do a concert and raise money for someone whose lane that is. And so it's just like, everybody can't be everything, but we have to start to figure out what we're good at so that we can put the pieces together. And that's how we will overcome.
I completely agree.
You're coming from a space of like goodness, where I feel like those folks you named are coming from a place of intentionality. I feel like they are Kanye is intentionally on the ballot to pull votes away from the Democratic Party. I feel like Ice Cube intentionally, no matter what they say, I feel intentionally that they are doing damaging things to our community. And that is why I almost cuss. I don't mess with them. I don't mess with them folks, because I think it's intentional. I don't think it's, I don't know about politics, let me dibble dabble in here a little bit because, I just want to use my platform. I think they're using that platform exactly for what it is that they are intentionally trying to harm our community. And that's that. That's how I feel.
What I can say is, unfortunately, our celebrity culture has gotten to the point where I wouldn't blame you for having that viewpoint. You don't know who's genuine about anything anymore, especially the person who's least educated on it.
And they can't even really relate to the common man like that. And that's why I don't like to do the blanket statements, because I agree with Cardi B in politics. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And she's a rapper and she's from the hood and she's not, she's not educated in this form in a formal fashion. And she's spitting real truth in a lot of things, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And
what Cardi B did? Cardi B interviewed Bernie Sanders. Cardi B had a conversation with Joe Biden. Cardi B did not put herself on the ballot to run for office. Cardi B used her platform to amplify the people whose political views she agrees with. And just do it like that. If you want to support Donald Trump, Kanye West, Ice Cube, 50 Cent, whatever, just do that. But all this other stuff makes me feel like you're not very smart. I mean, Celia's position is that they're doing this on purpose. They're being intentional. My position is that they're just really not very smart, like in terms of being politically savvy. If you want to dabble in politics, you have to understand how to be political. You have to play political games. A person like Ice Cube has made an entire career off of being outside of the mainstream, outside of politics, outside of institutions. And now he's going to try to dabble in politics. He's woefully unprepared for that.
You know, we have a lot of tycoon culture in this country. You know what I mean? I struck it rich. Now I can kind of strut in and do what I want to do because I know what I'm talking about, because I didn't wheeled and dealed and did this and did that. I'm my own type swag, right? And a lot of that comes from sometimes people who aren't all that educated. You know what I mean? Some of it comes from privilege, but some of it will come from people who aren't all that educated. And so I tell people, like, money doesn't necessarily buy you taste. You know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean you're fully informed either which way it goes. So, you know, yeah, like Cube is still a 50-year-old dude from Compton. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Cube,
high school degree from the 80s. Like we're talking about the common man. But even still, will the common man be possibly self-interested? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, if anybody else has the ability to do it, will they? Is that opportune time? Of course. And then people will call them smart for that too. You know, that's what we're trying to get to. To be an opportunist is now to also be smart. You see what I mean?
Well, yeah. When you have a reality star running the country.
Well, you know, and that's that's what I mean. We can't. That's not a. Anyway.
I did the math on Ice Cube the other day, and Ice Cube is 51 years old.
Yeah.
And NWA came out, Straight Outta Compton came out when he was 19.
Yeah.
So that means he was broke for 19 years, and then he's been rich for 32 years. Mm-hmm. That means that he's been rich for almost twice as long as he's been poor. And I'm no mathematician, but I've been taking my math empowerment classes. And to me, that don't add up. You know what I'm saying? Ice Cube is not the common man. Ice Cube has never had to worry about his credit. Ice Cube has never had to pay a student loan. Ice Cube has probably bought property in cash and doesn't know anything about a mortgage, or he was a chronic renter for as long as he could and could afford it. And so these are the issues that the common man worries about. The common man is concerned about interest rates because they're trying to save, they're trying to get a retirement, and is tanking. Like, the common man is worried about food stamp programs, social welfare programs, education. Like, that's concerns for the common man. Ice Cube doesn't have those concerns. He's not the common man. He's the elite. He's the rich. He's the 1%.
Right.
And, I mean, he is.
And so is Lil Wayne, and so is Kanye. Lil Wayne,
yeah, like they don't lose either way. See what I'm saying? Like, the very fact we even saying their name puts them in the algorithm, and they show up. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all a game. It's a lot of gaming. You know what I mean? It's a lot of gaming. So, you know.
But all publicity is not good publicity. Like, they do to lose from this. I mean, first of all, Gen Z is not even aware of what Lil Wayne is doing with his life right now. I'm in I lurk on a couple groups, and I've seen a couple Gen Z people like, is he still alive? Like, oh wow, we didn't know. Like,
listen,
so irrelevant.
When they said he had posted a picture of him and his girlfriend kissing, to fight against racism, and they said his dreads falling off the bone.
Falling off the bone. That's a personal attack, Celia. That's a personal attack.
I personally attack people. It is what it is.
It's not his fault. His dreadlocks were falling off the bone.
You need to let it go. Let it go. Let it go. You're too rich to be looking like with your dreadlocks falling off the bone. Get you some weave. You rich. He can literally get dreadlock weave, and we wouldn't know.
You know what? Let me also say this. This is another longer discussion, but as we're talking about rich celebrities, some of these celebrities ain't as rich as they look.
Let me tell you something.
Some as rich as they look. There's tiers of, like, oh, I got a house here, but I'm like, I just got access. I still got to come up with a scheme to keep my money in. You know what I mean? Like, it's a lot of gaming going on. It's a lot of gaming.
But that's why they're so desperate to save their extra coin on that little tiny little smidge of extra tax for people above 400,000 because they perpetrating on Instagram like they rich, but they only making $401,000.
Right.
So
Right.
like I need that
Right.
whole extra dollar. Meanwhile they're renting a house on Wilshire for $10,000 a month. You know what I'm saying?
Got to keep up appearances for the business.
And the pandemic hit their pockets hard. The pandemic hit celebrities' pockets very hard. They can't do shows, they can't do concerts, they can't do appearances as much as they were doing before. I mean, down here in Texas is the Wild Wild West, so folks out here are still doing all of that. But generally, no.
Got COVID in the South because he knew he would be allowed to do a live performance in the South, and then he went ahead and did it, and then he went ahead and got that COVID.
Sure did.
Anyway, have we roasted people? We didn't even do my cute.
We've been on here long enough with all this. Okay, I'm drinking my wine.
Okay.
I'm tired. I'm about to go off on the whole system.
How long you been drinking, Johan?
Since we started.
Okay. That's it.
I didn't have that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got some catching up to do.
I want to do a little plug real quick. I was on the podcast with my friend that was on last week, Felicia Jimenez, and we got to catch her episode on Black Joy and Bootstraps.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about maroon arts and culture and what we're offering. And so please, if you have any, she's on all the podcasts, Spotify, all that good stuff, whatever. Get on there, the Google podcast, and check it out. Even if you just check out the education episode, me and Miss Jimenez really hashed out some great things about unlearning and, what maroons look like in virtual land, which they look like this. They go to maroonarts.com/freedom-school and and they escape from the realities that's around us.
Good luck with that. It's hard, but I'm here for it. I'm dedicated to it. I'm invested in it financially, emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. And it's going to pay off. I know that it will. And I just hope that it pays off for everyone that I know. I just, since we're plugging stuff, let me just make sure everyone knows the website, maroonarts.com. You can visit that website and keep up with what we have going on. Y'all, I was so proud of us the other day. I'm working on grant applications because, Maroon Arts and Culture is a nonprofit and we don't have a whole lot of money. We take any donations that you could send us. But I was working on grant applications and they wanted us to list some of the things that we've done. And it just, at first I was like disheartened because I was like, I ain't did nothing. But then I was like, Freedom School. We got the book club every week. We got homework help now. We've got the Educators of Color Happy Hour series. We just pitched a podcast to Spotify. We're doing a playwriting workshop for teens next month. And we're going to do a 10-minute play competition for teens in December. And we have a lot of amazing partnerships. We've got a series with Center Theater Group, which if you're here in Los Angeles and you're familiar with the Amundsen, the Mark Taper Forum, the Kirk Douglas Theater, Center Theater Group runs all three of those spaces. They are our partners. They are a great supportive organization to us at Maroon Arts and Culture. And every week we come together and we talk about what it's like to really have a creative career. So this week we talked to two producers, Patricia Garza and Liana Keys. And if you want to catch that conversation, it's on the Center Theater Group YouTube, and it'll be on the Maroon Arts and Culture YouTube next week. So tune into that.
Oh, looks like she might have lost her connection maybe because that went out really abruptly or her phone died. So I think she was at the end of that. So we're going to leave it at this. So please visit our website. If you have Halloween. Happy Halloween. I don't know what people are doing for Halloween because I'm not doing anything. But if you have any questions, send me a flyer because I did want to pop in for some of your events that you do. On the side. If you have any specific questions, please email us at info@maroonarts.com. We will respond to you right away. You had something, Johan?
Nope.
We're good to go? All right. Yep. Y'all take care.
All right.